Season 38, war number 6, and we're up against Legion. Today my team will be Tigra, Omega Sentinel, and Juggernaut. I only have one fight with Juggernaut, but he's getting some action this time. I'm on path 5 in section 1, I'm also taking that Tigra, then I'm on path 1 in section 2, and I'm taking that Sam Wilson and Omega Sentinel, and finally I have that Sasquatch mini-boss on this 8-card node with Tigra as well. So, the fight that I needed my Juggernaut for is this Hulkling on the Ebb and Flow knockdown and heavy hitter nodes, because this node also has the Force of Will node, and since Neutralize no longer works against that, Tigra is not a great option here. So, since I had a free spot on my team, I decided to bring in Juggernaut for this, because he's a great champion against Hulkling, and yeah, he just does so much damage and he deals with those buffs just fine, so he should be able to nuke this fight down pretty easily. The plan here was to just basically spam my special 2s, and it should be like a minute long fight, but I had Mystic Dispersion level 5 active taking this fight, so my power gain was a little bit too high here. Since Hulkling has so many buffs and Juggernaut just keeps nullifying them and they keep expiring, the power gain can get out of control. So I did end up getting my special 3 there, but it's fine. I shouldn't be in any danger of timing out here. Even with the protection up, those special 2s will deal a good chunk of damage, so as long as I can just keep spamming them over and over again, this fight should go down without that many issues. I do have to keep baiting Hulkling specials pretty often, because whenever he gains those buffs of his, he also gains some extra power from them. So that is something that you need to keep an eye on. Even if Hulkling gets to his special 3, I'm pretty sure Juggernaut would survive it just fine, because he has a 25% damage reduction when that Crimson Gem is active, which is hopefully all the time against someone like Havok who doesn't inflict debuffs. Now, something that I learned from Bitter Steel way after this war was done was that if you dash back using your right thumb instead of the left one, Juggernaut doesn't lose any of his unstoppable buffs when you dash back. He loses an unstoppable when you trigger the block input, so if you dash back with your left thumb, you first trigger the block and then dash back, so you lose an unstoppable, but dashing back with your right thumb, you don't lose one because you never triggered block input. So that is a nice little tip there, so thank you Bitter Steel for pointing that out. Next up I have 2 fights with Omega Sentinel that I turned on my recoil masteries for. And the first one here is a Havok on the Ebb and Flow knockdown and heavy hitter nodes. And the plan here is to just make sure I always have my armor ups on, throw my special 2s for that plasma damage, and that's about it. The heal block takes care of any regen he might have, and as long as I don't get hit, the auto block never triggers and I don't lose my armor ups. So the biggest mistake you can do while fighting Havok with her is to consume those armor ups by accidentally triggering an auto block. That is the one thing that you should not do. Now I haven't built up my debuffs here, but it's fine because my Omega Sentinel is awakened, so she inflicts an extra plasma debuff for every prowess effect on the opponent, up to 5. And since Havok had a lot of prowesses before I threw my special 2, I inflicted 7 of those plasmas with only a single non-damaging debuff active at the time. That is a great damage increase against champions with a lot of prowess effects, but even unawakened Omega Sentinel would be just fine for this fight. It would just take a little bit longer. So now it's just a few more basic attacks and Havok will go down. I didn't use a special here at the end, because I didn't want to risk losing any more HP due to recoil in case he didn't actually drop from the special itself. And now I'm using some small potions to heal Omega Sentinel back up to full, and the reason why is because the next fight is a Mystic champion, and if Omega Sentinel is not at full HP and you have the recoil masteries active, she triggers that regeneration buff at the start of the fight. and since it is a buff that will expire, it will feed Mystic Dispersion if you're fighting a Mystic. So just to avoid that extra power on Tigra, I decided to heal her up to full. The nodes here are Ebb and Flow Knockdown and right back at it, and the game plan is to just knock her down whenever I can to remove the protection, and then just let Omega Sentinel deal with the fight just with her basic attacks alone. Well, for the most part at least. Tigra has a very low health pool, and Omega Sentinel having the highest attack rating in the game, combined with that passive fury you get from the Ebb and Flow knockdown node, this fight goes down pretty fast. However, there when I decided to throw my special 2, Tigra had the Huntress Sense active, and one of the projectile hits actually missed. That allowed Tigra to block the rest of the special, and she could have punished me there. But luckily I was far enough to get my own block up in time before she could actually reach me. Next up we have a Captain America Sam Wilson on the sloped armor and buffet over time nodes, and I'm taking this fight with Tigra. Now the plan is to just nuke this fight down as fast as possible. I don't want him to trigger any of his armor ups, because Tigra has no nullify, so she has no way to get rid of them if they do activate. I use an advanced power boost and the mystic power boosts to help nuke this fight down as fast as possible. With the advanced power boost, all I need to do is play 2 heavy attacks, punish them with my heavy, and that is enough power to get to my special 2. The ruptures I deal by doing that also increase the special 2 damage quite a lot, and that combined with the mystic power boost as well as the rupture triggers on the special 2 itself, I got enough power to get to my special 1, after which was then enough damage to finish the fight. It was a nice 20-second Tigra fight, and yeah, I really enjoy using Tigra in Alliance War. I've been using Kitty too much lately, so having her banned for some wars is always nice. Next up we have a Nick Fury on the Never Back Down node, and I'm taking this fight with Omega Sentinel, starting with the heal block debuff mode active. Now, I usually use the recoil masteries with Omega Sentinel, because they don't hurt her at all, they just help her damage output, and that's about it. But since this is my last fight with another champion apart from Tigra, I didn't think it was necessary. She really doesn't need the recoil masteries to be good in Alliance War, and this fight is a great example as to why that is. Something cool that Omega Sentinel can do against Nick Fury is to completely bypass the second life if you time your second medium as the hit that pushes him to his second life. The damage triggers first, pushing him to the second life, and then the heal block triggers, which just leaves him at 1 HP, and then, after the invulnerability phase is over, one more hit is enough to finish him off. Here I timed it just right, and look at that. He's just left at 1%, and then I just throw a special to finish him off. Even if you miss the timing, there is no risk of dying there with Omega Sentinel. She is so tanky with the armor ups that the Fury buff Nick Fury gets doesn't really do anything. Next up we have a Thing on the buffet overtime node, and I'm taking this fight with Tigra. This is basically a normal Thing fight for Tigra, since the buffet overtime regeneration is a buff, neutralize shuts it down completely. And since he doesn't have any increased ability accuracy, a force of will node or anything like that, Tigra will shut down the unstoppable as well. So, as long as you know how to fight Thing normally with her, this is a very simple fight. Like always, the main things to keep an eye on are his rock stacks, and to just never leave him at 15 rock stacks at the end of your heavy attack, combo or a special. So it does take some practice to be able to know on the fly how many attacks you can throw, when do you need to stop your combo short, and at what point you can use your specials without leaving him there. As long as you can do that, you will never be struggling against Thing with Tigra. Well, as long as there aren't any nodes that mess you up, that is. Next up we have an Omega Sentinel on the strike counter block penetration, never back down and sloped armor nodes, and and I'm taking this fight with Tigra. And the game plan here is the exact same as it was against that Captain America Sam Wilson. I use an advanced power boost to help me get that special 2 a lot faster. I'm baiting out 2 heavy attacks to start the fight. That gives me enough power to get my special 2, and the extra ruptures increase my special 2 damage. And then just drop the special 2 and it should have enough damage to take her down. And since Omega Sentinel has a pretty small health pool, it does. Just barely, but we take those. Another beautiful 20-second fight for Tigra. Next up we have the final fight of this war, a Sasquatch on the safeguard miniboss node, and I'm taking this fight with Tigra. At first I wasn't sure if I should use Omega Sentinel here instead, but I decided to use Tigra as that is what I'm known for. She's also a lot more fun to use than Omega Sentinel, so why not use her if I get the excuse to do so. The game plan here is to just bait his special ones and punish them with my heavy attack, and then just drop those big special 2s until he drops. Now, I do mess up the spacing a few times for that special one. It is a bit tricky to do, and I definitely should have done more practice duels beforehand, but I'm still pretty comfortable with the heavy intercepts, so even if I do mess up the spacing, usually I'm fine. There are some times when I just get comboed because of that, but it shouldn't be enough to take her down as I am boosted here. And during the Wrath I stopped punishing his specials with a heavy attack because of the Unstoppable. It is possible to time it just right to get the punish, but I didn't wanna risk it. So instead I just throw basic attacks here and there, just to keep the neutralize up so that my senses don't fall off. And now the Wrath is over, so I can switch back to just doing what Tigra does. Punishing everything with heavy attacks, dropping big special 2s, and it will be enough to take this guy down, even with all his regeneration and damage reduction. I almost lost my senses there at the very end, and that could have been bad. But I didn't, and the special one finished him off. And we did actually end up winning this war. It was extremely close. They were actually winning at the very end when we were already done, but they just died to a couple of their last fights and we actually tied on death and then we won on time. So probably the closest war of this season.